What is up, guys? How is everybody doing tonight? Thank you for joining in. Hopefully, we're coming through live and clear. Y'all give me let me know, give me a hello or whatever. Let me know I'm coming through good. We've got a couple things we're going to be talking about tonight, and glad to have everyone in here. We're going to give a couple of shout outs to start the show as we normally do. And we are super excited for a Friday Night Live. We missed the last one, but we did one on Sunday. So hopefully you tuned in Sunday. And we are so excited to be here. And we've got a great group in here tonight. And I want to go ahead and give some shout outs. Hello to Arthur Rideout. Glad to have you in here, Arthur. I don't think I've ever seen you, but glad to have you. Tallulah Barkhead, one of our favorites. And he said he's out to drink wine. We'll catch the replay. Well, good. Well, we're glad you can catch that replay. What's happening? NC Relic Hunter, he's not with me tonight. His son is playing in a football game, and he wanted the opportunity to go see him. But we miss him, and he'll be back with us really soon as well. David Frazier, as always, nice to have you in here. Relic Jedi, glad to have you in here as well. Surfside Dan, my main man. Surfside Dan gave me some great information today, so I'm excited about what Surfside Dan told me. Tesh Ridge Digger is in the house. Glad to have you, Tesh. Tony Maston, as always, awesome to have you here as well. We're going to go through and let's see who else. Don't Tread on Me. Glad to have him in here. Mads Koss. Glad to have you in here. Yes, this is live, Mads Koss. So we're live and in person tonight. Glad you made it, and super excited to have you here. James, always a great supporter of the channel. Glad to have you in here, James. CAVL. Glad to have you in here, CAVL. And Greg Dudley. Hello. So super excited to be with you guys. I hope you guys have had a fantastic week. I'm trying to adjust my screen here. And I'm hoping that everybody has had a wonderful week, and you guys have seen some of the things coming through, and we're going to talk about those in just a minute. We got Sniff It Out as well. We want to mention Sniff It Out. And Clad Chad, he said he made it tonight. So we're glad to have you, Clad Chad. And as always, appreciate you guys being here. It's a Friday night, and for you guys to take up your time to share, some time with me and with some information, that makes me feel really good. And I'm super excited for you guys to be here tonight. So, again, we want to, got another one, Ricky Bennett. Glad to have you in here, Ricky. Tonight, I really wanted to go ahead and sort of talk about the Deus II update. And I know some of you have seen that the new Deus II update was released, and it is version 2.0. I'm curious to hear how many of you guys updated to 2.0. If you have, just give me a yes or no, and let me know if you've updated to 2.0. So would love to find out that you've done that. And thank you, NC Relic Hunter. You didn't have to do that, but thank you for the donation of $9.99, and we appreciate it so much. And again, all donations to the channel actually go into the channel, and we take those donations and we buy cameras, we buy equipment, we pay for travel expenses, anything that we do coming up, and we've got a lot of stuff planned for the fall and for the winter. And hopefully, we're going to get out and bring you some great content too on the channel. So I appreciate any of the donations. So we got a few people. Let's see who has updated. So LC Hunt says not yet. Danny Sullen says yes, he has. Surfside Dan says no. David Frazier says not yet. Moose Any says no. Greg Dudley says no. Relic Jedi says no. And Clad Chad says no need, won't bet getting the Stream Hunter. James Bazell says no. Haven't yet, been waiting. More videos from Tennessee Sharpshooter. Well, hopefully he'll have some stuff out. He's shown a couple of things, and we'll talk about that later on. Joe Dirt says, I can't find the 2.0 update. Joe Dirt, you should be able to find it on the XP website, but if you can't, then I can actually maybe post the link on here, maybe that can help you, Joe Dirt. So I'll try to do that whenever we get to it. Ricky Bennett says he has not updated, and Sniff It Out says no, he has not. And Don't Tread on Me says this is news to him, so he hasn't updated yet either. And Jesse Britt just came into the house. Jesse, we just asked if anyone has updated to 2.0 yet. And Tex Kinsley says the Manicore update may spook a few. Okay. So, and that's interesting. I just got off the phone with Calabash, and we were talking about the Manicore and the stabilizer update that was released a few months ago. So we'll see what happens with the Manicore. But right now we're talking about this Deus II 2.0 update. So it looks like most of you have not updated, with the exception of Danny Sullins. Danny, have you actually used the machine since you updated from, was it yesterday or day before? Real curious to see if you have updated. So just let me know in the chat. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about the 2.0 update and what is in it. So again, most of you know this, is that the 2.0 update looks like it's mainly going to be for the Extreme Hunter. And again, if you're planning on getting the Extreme Hunter, and some of you may be, some of you may not, but if you're getting the Extreme Hunter, it's definitely, you're going to need it. So you're going to have to update the 2.0 to give you that nice little screen on your Deus II and to sort of walk you through that. The other thing is that Gary released a video, Gary Blackwell released a video on the XP Skills School showing the Extreme Hunter and walking over a couple of targets and so on. So, it's mainly geared towards the extreme. But real quick, what I wanted to do was I wanted to share the update. So we're going to look at the update, and I'm going to show it to you guys. And I've got it shared on my screen, and you guys can actually see this 2.0 update. But again, and it is not, it's not scrolling up the way I wanted it to. That's not good. Well, anyway, I can still talk about it. So the 2.0 update, the main thing is the Extreme Hunter. So if you're planning on getting an Extreme Hunter, you're definitely going to want to update with the 2.0 because, again, you've got to have it in order to hook the Extreme Hunter up to the Deus II remote. And so you're definitely going to have that. The only other two things that were in the 2.0 version is that the Goldfield program has increased sensitivity to small targets and lower conductors. So if you use the Goldfield program and you're looking for small gold nuggets, then it's going to be a lot better. Sharpshooter has a video. You guys can check that out on his channel where he's showing basically using Goldfield and how it is improved on the smaller targets. It also says that the equalizer now functions with the bone conduction headphones. So I know there was an issue with that, and they've updated that to where the equalizer will work with the bone conduction headphones. And remember, if you do update to 2.0, you're going to have to update all of your headphones as well. If you have extra headphones or different headphones, you're going to have to update those headphones as well. So again, if you're using 2.0, remember to update your headphones. If you've got a WS6 and you've got a remote, then those are also going to have to be updated too if you plan on using 2.0. So don't forget about that and make sure that you do that. And Sharpshooter again has been, and NC Relic Hunter just put this up here. Sharpshooter says that he just called him and he said he has been testing 2.0, which he has. And you guys can check out his channel if you would like to get some of that information. But basically, he said in those videos that the 2.0 and the Goldfield mode was hitting on those smaller targets much better than what it had done on 1.10. So, that's interesting. I've even thought about maybe trying to work a program with the Goldfield program since they have added this, and maybe seeing if it will work really good in the iron, because with that higher frequency in that Goldfield program, you should be able to adjust it. The only problem is you can't select the tones and you're sort of stuck with what you got. And that's the only issue with Goldfield, but it could be something that could help out. And I plan on testing that really, really soon in that Goldfield program and seeing what happens. So James Bazell says the 2.0 update also made some changes to the, yes, and that's exactly right, James. They sure did. They made some adjustments to Goldfield, which is what we just talked about. Danny Sullen says, planning into the Extreme Hunter, still too hot in Oklahoma, and the dirt is like concrete. So, yes, I get it. It's been pretty dry here, believe it or not. And I know we got a hurricane coming, but it's not going to impact South Carolina, which is great. But we do need some rain, and it is dry in this area. So, again, if you haven't watched the video from Gary, you can see the Extreme Hunter. I know I have asked a couple of you whether you're getting the Extreme. Who on here right now is planning on getting the Extreme? Real curious as to who is going to get the Extreme. And if you are getting the Extreme, what are you going to be looking for and where are you going to go with it? That's the other thing, because some people may not know what the Extreme is. And again, it is a super deep 2-box coil system that you can use to find really, really deep targets. Now, what I saw from the video, and I don't know how many of you have seen the video by Gary Blackwell, I'm just sort of curious as to how we can tell the difference between ferrous and non-ferrous based on what he showed on that video. And I never really got an answer to that question. And that was the whole thing with the version 2.0 and with the Extreme Hunter, was we were going to be able to tell the difference between ferrous and non-ferrous. And I just really didn't get that in that video. So, but go check it out for yourselves, see what you think. But it is an interesting video to say the least. Mods Kai says, I don't know much about Deus 2.0. I myself have 2 Xterra Pro Mind Labs, and the Xterra Pro is a great machine, good beginner machine, good for beach hunting and so on. But the Deus 2, awesome machine. Most of the people that are on here right now are Deus 2 users as well. So, but thank you, Mods Kai, for leaving a comment. James Bazell says, not me. Surfside Dan, which he and I talked today too, he said that a buddy has one on order and hopefully they'll be coming in soon. I have contacted XP about me possibly getting one, which I'm hoping that's going to be the case, but we'll see how that plays out. Yes, Gary put out a new video today showing that that Extreme Hunter. And again, the jury's sort of still out because we don't really know much about it. I'm real curious as to when it's going to actually come to the U.S. I know I've seen it overseas, but I haven't seen it here in the United States, and I haven't really seen a lot of video with it. So if I get one, though, guys, I promise you, I'm going to try to put up some videos sort of showing it, showing what it's capable of, showing where we can use it, how it can benefit us, and so on. If I get one, which maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know, but I'm hoping they'll take care of me. They're usually pretty good. So Surfside Dan said Gary should show two different sounds, one for ferrous and one for non-ferrous, which I didn't see that in that video, Dan, and that's my problem right now. I have is I want to see how I can tell the difference, because the whole deal behind it was that, because the Deus II is a multi-frequency machine, that we're going to be able to tell the difference between a ferrous and a non-ferrous target. So that's where I'm at with that. Jesse Britt says, not me. He says, I will wait and see how everyone else does with it. And I don't blame you, Jesse. That's a lot of money to fork down for a machine. Surfside Dan says, yes, he saw it. So, again, Extreme Hunter, definitely out there. We're just waiting to get one in our hands and actually see what this thing can do. And is it worth that big price tag? So, would love to see it, love to get my hands on it. So maybe that is coming really, really soon. Relic Jedi says, I don't feel that the Extreme is practical for the bulk of the United States. And again, it's more of a specialized type thing. And I agree with Relic Jedi. I do have a few spots that I think it would work in. Like I have a Civil War campsite that I would love to find some trash pits in. If you live in Virginia where they got those old huts, it could be beneficial there. And again, who knows? There could be a hoard of silver buried somewhere, a hoard of gold coins like in Kentucky, but it's very specialized for that particular type of hunting. And I know the majority of us that are on here right now, we probably don't dig more than, anywhere from 6 to maybe 12 or 14 inches tops. And to have a machine that's going to hit 16 feet, it's just crazy to think about. And I don't think I want to dig 16 feet, but I definitely, before I dug anything, especially anything really deep, I want to know that whether it is a ferrous or a non-ferrous target. So that's where I'm at right now on this machine. Yes, and a lot of people are saying, yes, it is going to be good in Europe. Maybe there are hordes of coins in Europe, and that seems to be what it's geared for. But I can see where it could be beneficial here in the United States. So that's why I want to get my hands on one, is to try it on some of these spots. Maybe I can locate an old colonial trash pit. Maybe I can locate an old a hut or something on a Civil War campsite. That would be where I think it would really shine here in the United States. But again, you have to have access to those types of sites, and not everybody has access to those sites. It's just not a standard metal detector. So that's what we're seeing in most of those cases. Musini says, I'm an avid beach hunter. The Extreme wouldn't be good for me on the salt beach. Right. And again, it is not geared for everyone. And that's where we're at. And are they going to sell a lot of these in the United States? I really don't know. But again, we got to get one in our hands to sort of get an evaluation of whether it's going to be worth our while to purchase one. And we need to know what the benefits of it are going to be in the U.S. Versus, over in Europe, where they do maybe have access to these big, huge hordes of coins and those types of things. So again, that's where we're at. Don't Tread on Me says, now that they have this accomplished, time for it. Right. And we talked about this last week, and we're going to get off the Extreme in the 2.0 update. We're going to talk about some other stuff in just a second, but is this going to be something that it's going to, sort of change the way we look at some of our sites? That's going to be the curious thing that I think is going to happen with the Extreme. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. I just hope that real soon we're going to get this thing in our hands. Yeah, Relic Jedi, I agree. But I can't answer that question right now. And I would love to be able to answer that question for you guys, but I don't know how it's going to react in hot soil. Um, it does have IAR on it, so you should be able to knock out some of that, but you might not be able to knock out some of that. So I don't know. That's the curious thing. So anyway, Dwayne says I'm thinking about mounting one to the front of my kayak and paddling around looking for artillery shells. Well, they did say it was waterproof. Now, whether you want to go dive with it, I don't think so, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with this? So we'll see. We'll see. I think it's interesting. We're living definitely in some interesting times as far as metal detectors go, and the Extreme is just another tool that we can use. If you've got the money and you want to plop down that money for this thing, and you've got access to those sites, and I think that's the key thing. If you've got access to a site where the Extreme would work really, really well, a lot of us, are hunting old home sites and those types of things. But again, I can still see where it would benefit in an old home site, especially if you were looking for an old privy where there could be a lot of artifacts in those privies. And that's where I think it would help us. And usually mixed in with some of those privy sites are going to be some nice old coins, some nice artifacts, some nice relics that some of us may really like. So that's where I think it's going to shine here, and that's why I want to see it in our hands. No, the Extreme is a multi-frequency detector. Yes, he said I wouldn't submerge it; just scan 5 or 6 foot deeper water. Right. So yeah, you could. It's waterproof to a certain point, but I definitely won't want to take it down too far from what I had. Michael's saying it's just rainproof. So, yeah, I would not want to submerge it. Yeah, I agree with Michael. So, Michael's definitely right. Mads Ka says it is 2 o'clock in the morning here in Denmark and pitch black outside, about to go beeping in the woods. That night digging and night detecting, that can be sort of that can be sort of spooky. But we're glad you're in here with us from Denmark. Thank you for joining in. Uh, yes, a lot of you are saying, does it come with an excavator? And yeah, I would bring some extra help if you're planning on using it and digging a deep hole. But where I think it's going to shine, just like what I just said, I think it's going to shine if you're looking for maybe an old privy site and you're looking for artifacts and relics that way. If you've got access to a Civil War campsite, I think it's going to shine there. And anywhere you might think that there's a buried old coins, a hoard of old coins. I think that's where the Extreme is going to shine here in the United States, is if you think that you have access to those types of sites. And if you do, then maybe the Extreme would be a machine you want to try. But again, it's specialized digging, and you guys are going to have to make up your mind whether you would like to go with it or not. David Frazier says, I have not used the Manicore, but I'm very pleased with the Deus II. I think the antenna needs a redesign. And I did see something the other day, and I should have pulled this up for you guys. They do have a new shaft with the antenna that you can pull through the shaft, I believe. I think I saw that somewhere. And maybe I'll look that up and maybe make a video about it. But they do have a shaft that's sort of designed for the antenna and pulling it up through, and that way you can hook it up a little easier and it's not visible all the time and that kind of stuff. So yeah, Relic Jedi says watch out for Bigfoot. Yes, you're hunting in the dark, who knows what you're going to see, especially over there in Europe and Denmark. So but yeah, so again, I don't want to dwell on the Extreme for too long. But I did want to bring up 2.0 as it was just released. Again, if you want to update, the main changes is what I just mentioned. It's mainly for the Extreme. It does have the updated Goldfield program version to hit on smaller targets, which I think is really good. And it did improve the equalizer with the bone conduction headphones. So those are the main things that were done in 2.0. And that might be that might be something that all of you are interested in. I really don't know, but again, those are the main additions in that update. Jesse Britt says, I can see it working well in Petersburg, somewhere like that for cannonballs and such. Right. So again, if you got access to a site like that, the Extreme Hunter might be a very, very good thing to have. James Lettner says, hello, everyone. Glad to have you in here, James, as always. Super supporter of the channel. Bobby Short is in here. He says, I think the EMI would limit the machine in my area, that it would be better just to use the Deus II. Right. And it could, and nobody knows. I mean, we really don't know how it would handle EMI. I would think the EMI would really be amplified with that machine, but I don't really know because, again, I don't have my hands on one. I'm hoping to get one, and we'll see what happens there. Right, and Gary said this in his video. And NC Relic Hunter says this too. Don't forget to empty your pockets and belt buckles when running the Extreme, right? Because it'll pick up on that stuff. So if you're wearing a metal, belt, or you've got metal buttons or whatever on, it can pick up on some of that stuff, and that can make it go haywire as well. Wisco Detect, hey, glad to have you in here, Wisco, as always. And we've only been on for about 26 minutes now, but we're glad you're here, and you can help moderate if we've got any moderation issues. And normally we don't, because everybody in here are high-class guys and know what they're talking about, and they're all here for the information. So glad to have you. Make It Work says, supposedly there is a Confederate minefield. I don't know exactly what the Confederates used to make a minefield. Does anyone have any ideas? I don't know. There might be somebody in here, Make It Work, that can answer that question. Alabama Digger says, I think the Extreme would be good for a close group of friends to pitch in on favorites. I guess that's what he's trying to say. And Civil War pits, too much for one person here. Right. Yeah. And that was the other thing. I think you could see some of these metal detecting clubs and groups maybe doing that because it is a big price tag to have one, buy it individually. So that would be an idea. If you're in a metal detecting club or you're in a metal detecting group, maybe 4 or 5 of you go in, split the cost of it, and then go out and hunt with it. I mean, that would be awesome. Yes, you might have to hire a man with a shovel or one of those little small miniature backhoes. Carson Chris is in here. He says, hey, guys. And Alabama Digger says privies, I meant. Yes. So there you go. So, yeah, I think it would be great in those types of situations. So, but if anybody is planning on buying one or they get one in and you're part of our group and you're here every night, please share with us. Let us know what you think. I'm interested too. But hopefully, like I said, we're going to start to see these things start to show up in the United States. Maybe in October, maybe November before, but it could be earlier. It could be later. But I'm hoping it's going to be sooner than later. Any idea? I don't know. That's another thing. It's an aluminum can. Who wants to dig 2 or 3 feet and find out, hey, it's aluminum can? And I don't know the size. But of course, if you looked at the video that Gary put out, the way those humps are in the on the screen help you indicate the size of the target. And I think the wider the hump, I think the bigger the target. I think that was what he was saying. So, but if you haven't watched that video, go watch it. And again, that would be good. Relic Jedi says, hit the like. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of y'all being here. There's my buddy Calabash. He's in here. He says, I wonder when they will get there. And Calabash, I hope it's going to be soon. You and I both, I know, are waiting with sort of bated breath to see if this thing's going to come to us. But hopefully it will be here real soon. We'll see. Jesse Britt says, just in time for bow season. There you go. And Bobby Short says, I think it would be great for rural privies. And that's where I think it's going to shine here in the United States. For you guys that have access to old home sites, privy sites, Civil War sites, I think that's where we're going to see the strength of this machine. Calabash says a 3-foot jar of silver coins will do. Right. Yeah. So maybe you've heard stories of people burying money in a yard or on a lot, then you could go in there and maybe find those silver coins. Wouldn't that be really cool? Carson Chris says he might be able to get one for work. That would be good too if you could get your work to buy it. That definitely would, and then write it off. So that would be awesome. Carson Chris says, I heard 2.0 changed some of the Goldfield program. Yeah, we talked about that. It really helps with the smaller targets in Goldfield. Sharpshooter does have a video up with that. So if you want to check out Sharpshooter, TN Sharpshooter, he does have a video showing that. Surfside Dan and I have already talked about this. Both, if I do get one, we're going to try to use the GPR along with the Extreme to sort of help us identify targets. So we're looking really forward to doing that. We've got Adele. Glad to have you back in here, Adele. She says, hi, everyone. Heading out early in the morning with the Deus II and Manicore to an 1850s farm in Pennsylvania, hoping to find some water pipes from Horse Arena area in exchange to detect the property. That's a great way to do it. And she brings up a good point. Sometimes you got to do those things like looking for property lines and looking for water lines and those types of things. And that can give you access to some other areas on that property, as well as they may own another piece of property. So sometimes doing those types of things definitely can help give you access. So thank you, Adele, for sharing that, because that brought up a great point. Calabash says Colonial Horde would be great. We got to figure out size of targets it will hit. Any test on YouTube with a jar of coins yet? I have not seen it, Calabash. So that's what I think a lot of us are waiting on, is a test showing some of these things and giving us that audio so we can sort of tell the difference between good targets and bad targets with the ferrous and non-ferrous. So that's what I want to see. Dwayne says, if ever I walked over a 3-foot deep jar of silver coins, I would probably stop digging at 2 feet. Yes, 2 feet 6. Definitely. Adele says, any thoughts of a better machine to use? Which program, if would any, would you recommend to go that deep if possible? Adele, what I would do is I would lower the reactivity down, especially, it depends on what you're looking for. Deep high conductor, you could lower the reactivity down and run that on the Deus II. And I think that would help you get really deep, bump the sensitivity up. Again, lower the reactivity. All of those things would be things that should help you get really deep on that site. So try those things and just let me know how you're doing. But I would try deep high conductor. I love fast. Sensitive full tones is very, very deep. If you're going to use sensitive full tones, you could actually do the same thing, lower the reactivity down, run full tones naturally, and see what happens with it. But those would all be suggestions that I would make for that. So Adele says also, a few of us are going from our group can either go that deep. Both of those machines are very deep. Manicore's deep, Deus II's deep. But the Deus II, which is what I run, again, lower the reactivity, bump the sensitivity up, and go with deep high conductor or sensitive full tones. You could run general too, depends on what the soil is like, and see what happens with it. Definitely. Calabash says, Relic or Goldfield with the Deus II. Yes, definitely. Those are definitely deep programs as well. You can do either one, and those would definitely help you get deep as well. Surfside Dan says, see if anyone in your group has a GPX. GPX pulse induction machine is awesome. So yes, you could use the GPX on those machines or on that property as well. You're definitely going to hit deep. Right. And Calabash says all metal, no filter definitely would help on the Manicore. So yeah, all those programs would be extremely deep on that site that you're talking about going to, and that should help you. So again, we've talked about the Extreme, we've talked about the 2.0 update. I wanted to get into the programs and things that we've been running. And I know I've been talking about sensitive full tones and fast for the last few live streams. And I'm going to go back to that. We're going to talk about that for a few minutes to sort of head out of here. But let's go back and talk about sensitive full tones and fast on relic sites. And I think that was where we left off last live stream. Has anybody been using the sensitive full tones with naturally with full tones and with the notch run up to a high notch? And I've used fast that way too, but I'm also using high square, and I'm using full tones. And I found when I ran up to 88 that I was getting some really interesting finds, even some finds that did ring below 88, but they were sort of up averaged into the 90s. And I'm curious if anybody else has tried that and if they had success with it. So that's where I want to start. So I showed y'all that program. I was running fast. I was running a max frequency of 40. I was running full tones. I was running high square for the audio. And I had the sensitivity at about 93. Reactivity, I ran anywhere from 2.5, even up to 4 in some cases. And but I had it notched out to 88. And were you getting, and this is the main thing I want to know, were you getting any targets that would have rang up lower without the notch? It would have rang up below the notch. So that's where I'm curious about knowing about as well. So if anybody has tried that, let me know, and let me know how it was going, if it worked for you. I have had a couple of people say, hey, it worked great for me, but I'm real curious to see what's going on. So see you later, Calabash. Glad to have you on here. He says he's got to go back to work. Says we will talk soon, definitely. And of course, you guys know Calabash and I have been hunting forever together. And glad to have him chime in tonight on the show. And hopefully we'll get him on here for a live stream, maybe sometime in the near future. So again, back to this notch thing. Have any of you implemented notch and found that it helped you? That's another thing too that I'm interested to hear. I think it does great with the fast program, and I also think it does great with sensitive full tones. And then again, sensitive full tones is great at unmasking. I think it does awesome. So here's Don't Tread on Me. He says, exactly. I'm using sensitive full tones, high square, high tones, and notch is a great tool that I use in heavy iron. Ran up to 86 the other day. Square nails were hitting 85 hard. So you knocked out those square nails by running that notch. But what I found was I was digging buttons, too, that were in the 80 range. And because I notched out to 88, anything above 88, naturally would have been silver, but I was getting buttons. And so it up averaged some of those buttons into the 90s, low 90s, 91, 90, and so on. And I found that to be really interesting. But again, I had the max frequency set at 40. And I think it up averaged those buttons into the 90s just simply because I was running that notch, which I thought was, pretty fascinating. So William Birch says, I did something like that and picked up a mercury dime out of a bad iron patch that I've hunted with 3 different detectors. There you go, William. And that's awesome, dude, because, again, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that there are targets that are being up averaged above that notch in heavy iron when you run that sensitive full tones and when you run fast. I think fast does the same thing. Don't Tread on Me says he got a copper on the surface at 93. Very good. Also, I maxed out reactivity. So you're running a high reactivity there, which can also help too, especially if you're in a really, really concentrated iron section. David Frazier says, notch to what number again, please? I will try. David, I notched all the way up to 88. So anything 89 or above, it was hitting on. But that was with fast and sensitive full tones. And I was running the max frequency at 40. And I was using high square for my audio. And I was running full tones. So, I think it works really, really good. And it was up averaging buttons though into the low 90s. And I dug like 2 or 3 buttons off of this site when I implemented that notch. And I don't know that I would have dug those buttons if I hadn't run the notch. And that's what I'm trying to find out. And I've been working on this for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But yes, sir, glad to share that with you. Thank you so much. Don't Tread on Me says, I will use the notch with any reactivity. Yes. If you're in heavy iron, though, run that notch and bump that reactivity to 4. If you want to go up to 5, that's totally up to you. But 3 or 4, it really works good. And I found some things that I've missed. And this is a site that I've been hunting for 4 years. So, and to still dig a button out of it using that program was pretty impressive to me. And that, of course, is with the 1.10 version update of the software for the Deus II. So, yes, David Fraser says, I have a 1920 farm site loaded with iron. Yeah, David, just go give it a shot. And again, it may not work for you. I have real mild soil, and it tends to work great for me because of that mild soil. Try it. Just see if you like it. If you don't, it's no harm, no foul. I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm just trying to gather some data to let me know that that's what I saw is what you guys are seeing too. And I have had a few people. My buddy Lance, who's on here, he's not on here tonight, but he's used it and had success with it. Michael Coley, who's on here with me, NC Relic Hunter, he's used it and it worked really well for him. I've used it; it worked really well for me, but I still want more data before I say, hey, this is a great program to be trying. Carson Chris says, yeah, the Deus II is a crazy machine. Adjusting it different directions changes it so much. And that's right. And I've said this multiple times. When you start changing these settings and using different programs, you can make a site come alive, whereas a lot of other machines are not going to be able to do that. And that's the power of this machine, of the Deus II, is that that's what you get when you implement Notch, when you try different programs, you try different settings. Just the versatility of the Deus II is just extremely good. So it is. Don't Tread on Me says, I love Reactivity 5. Reactivity 5 is blazing fast. Tesh Ridge Digger says, Notch with fast program, you destroy coins under any conditions. I agree. Totally. 100%. That's my favorite go-to program. And of course, you guys know I hunt tons and tons of iron, and it's the program that I prefer. I love sensitive full tones. And I've said this in previous live streams, using sensitive full tones sometimes you will dig a little more iron. I think it runs a little bit hotter than the fast program, but I do think the unmasking capabilities are there with sensitive full tones. So again, if you want to unmask and you're in heavy iron, sensitive full tones is great. I think it's great to go back into other sites or sites that you've hunted multiple times, and you want to go back and try to clean up those sites, run that high notch, and I think you're going to be surprised if you do that. Bobby Short says, yes, works great in trashy areas and where all targets are shallow, such as rocky terrain. Notch to 83, reactivity 3. Nickels are up average. So Bobby is basically sort of reaffirming what I've been seeing with the sensitive full tones and with fast program, running that reactivity up. So I think that is definitely helping. William Birch says, also on the same side, I pulled out a 10-carat cufflink after many years hitting the same spot. And how many times do we hear this story of people going back into sites, running different settings, different programs with the Deus II, and they're finding things. I mean, it's just to me, it's unbelievable because, I mean, think about it. We've hunted those sites over and over and over again with either another, with a different machine, or we're using it in a different way. We're using the Deus II in a different way, and we find something. So that's what's so crazy about the Deus II. Adele says, I only use fast on Deus 2 and Manicore. Good, Adele, that's it. If you're hunting heavy iron sights, fast and sensitive full tones to me is the only way to go. And I've said this multiple times. Those are my two go-to programs in heavy iron. And you can use them. I mean, you can use them outside of heavy iron too. I think they do really well. The other thing is high square versus PWM. And again, I think that just comes down to personal preference as to what you're used to and what you like hearing. The high square, I think, gives a more, I say, a more pleasant sound. The PWM gives you more of a, I think, an informational audio. It's more sensitive to certain types of targets as well. And I think you can get a lot of information out of PWM. I like both. I have been testing with the high square because it really does sound great over any type of silver. I think it really has that pure sound. And if you're used to MindLab sounds, I think it sounds more similar to the MindLab stuff. But I do like high square. I do like PWM. I like square, but they're all good. I mean, it just depends on what you prefer and what works for you. And, some people don't like high square, and I get it. I think high square tends to drag out that tone a little bit more. But I think you get more responsiveness out of PWM versus high square. So again, that's more of a personal thing. But it's up to you, definitely. Just keep going back using different settings and pulling new stuff out, just like you're saying. That's right. It is, William, and it seems like that's what's happening in a lot of cases. I've run the mono program, I've run general program, I've run deep high conductor, I've run part, I've run sensitive full tones, I've run fast, I've run all of them. And every time I go back, I find something, which is just crazy to think about, but it does on sites that I have really hit pretty hard. And if Calabash were still on here and Michael were still on here, they would tell you the same thing. They've seen me go into these sites with that Deus 2, and they've seen me pull stuff out of it that we know that we've hunted it and we know that what we've used, and then we go back in there with a Deus 2 in some sort of different setting or different program, and we end up coming out with more stuff. So the whole saying is, sites never hunted out, and that saying is so true. Don't tread on me. Metal Dictator says, got a very cool bucket lister yesterday on a now wooded field, sensitive full tones, reactivity of 1, and he used no notch and got me an 1858 Flying Eagle. I love those Flying Eagles. I dug 5 of them off of one site, and those are really, to me, they're really special coins. Of course, most of the ones that you find are not in that good of shape, but to dig a Flying Eagle is a great coin, a great find, and don't tread on me. Congratulations, buddy. That's awesome. Yes, definitely. Carson Chris says congratulations. Yeah, and guys, don't forget too. We didn't do the finds of the finds of the week, but if you got finds and you want to share them with me so I can put them up on the next live stream, um, send them to me. There's my email. So again, love to share your finds on the program, on the live stream. So I love sharing what you guys are doing out there, what you're finding. I think that just makes it special. So if you got finds you want to share, then send them to my email there, and would love to get your finds up on the live stream. And we usually start off our show with our finds. Um, and I thought about putting up some of my finds, but you guys have seen some of them. But you can go watch any video on my channel or on my TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. They're all there. But again, if you got a find and you want me to share it, I'll be more than happy to share it. And again, I appreciate it. If you haven't hit that like button too by now, hopefully everybody has. We got 39 people in the house. Hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps with the algorithm, gets me going, and helps promote the channel as well. So please hit that like button if you haven't already. And don't tread on me says thanks everyone for his Flying Eagle find. Relic Jedi says, what did the FE ring up at? I can't tell what that is. DTOMMD. Relic Jedi, fill me in on that. So anyway, I don't know what that means. I'm just gonna be honest. Maybe I'm not thinking right now. I've had a rough week too. I've been in. I teach. Of course, a lot of you guys may not know that, but I'm a school teacher. I'm a history teacher. I teach all day, all through the week. I also coach too, which I've got an early morning tomorrow morning. I got to get up at 5:30. So yeah, I got a lot going on. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. Tin Man says he got a few cut coins, but nothing groundbreaking in his last few hunts. Tin Man, a lot of people would love to have those cut coins. Those are nice to find as well. Mads Ka says, I found a metal whistle from World War One, and it was 45 centimeters in the ground. That's about 13 to 14 inches. Xterra Pro, Field 1, all tones, squeaky sound. Yeah, well, look, hey, that's a great find. I would love to have that. I'm a big World War One nut, World War II guy. I love that period. But that's a super fine, Mads Koss. Congratulations on that. Don't tread on me. Responding to Relic Jedi, it was low, sketchy to the S-Day, the least, probably about 50. I did not look, so I'm assuming he's talking about the VDI. There we go. So he abbreviated. Okay. I'm trying to follow along with the chat. You guys are going really quick. Tesh Ridge Digger says, my rock tumbler is working overtime cleaning clad coins. Well, hey, that clad adds up. You know, you can go to parks and you can really wax, especially running that notch high on the dais too. Mad Scott says, thanks here from Denmark. I would love to go to Denmark. I'd love to go to Europe, period. So hopefully that's going to happen in my near future as well. So we talked about fast. We've talked about sensitive full tones, which is something that I've been working on for the last month and a half. We've been playing around with that. Coil size, I think we've addressed in some form or fashion. I did want to just briefly talk about coil sizes. How many of you have the 13-inch coil? That's my next step. The 13-inch coil. How many of you hunt with a big coil, whether you're using a Deus II or using another machine? Curious. William Birch says one of the last finds was a 1952. I love those Tusi toy cars. I found a few of those, and I love finding those. Yes, Tusi toy cars are just really cool. Clad Chad says he's got the big 13-inch coil. I love the 13-inch coil, guys. And I'm going to tell you, if you have not used the 13-inch coil, it is a coil that you need to really add to your arsenal, and not just for the beach. And Clad Chad, I have used it to relic hunt with and heavy iron, and this thing really unmasked very well in heavy iron. So I was really surprised by it because I'd never tried it, and then I took it out a few times back at the end of May with Michael Coley, who's NC Relic Hunter on here. And the 13-inch coil performed really good. I found a lot of really cool stuff and stuff that I had missed because this was a site that I'd already hunted with. And I've also taken it over to a couple of other sites that I've hunted, and that 13-inch coil really unmasked very well on these sites. So if you haven't tried the 13-inch coil, or you're looking for a coil that's going to give you better coverage, that's still got a lot of unmasking capabilities, and you want to hunt maybe some of those sites that you've been over with the 9 or the 11, try the 13. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. It's a great coil to have in your arsenal for the Deus II. So check out that 13-inch coil. Again, guys, I don't think you'll regret that at all. And we've got a few comments here. William Birch says he uses a 15-inch on the Knox 800. Which again, that can be pretty heavy with that 15-inch, but the Knox 800 is a great machine. Detecting the Shore says I use the 15-inch in the off season to be able to cover more ground. Right. If you're looking for ground coverage, But again, I was really impressed with what the 13-inch did on some of these heavy iron sights. It was able to unmask in those heavy iron sights. So if you haven't tried the 13-inch coil on the Deus II, definitely go take a look at it. I think you will be impressed with it. Jesse Britt says, I have an old home site on my land. I get something new every time I try it. Very good, Jesse. That's awesome. Cloud Chad says beach and farm field. Yes. Again, you can use that 13-inch coil in all of those. That's all right. Get that, Treasure. We're glad you're here now. We're just talking about coil sizes right now. We've gone over the Extreme. We've gone over the 2.0 update. We talked a little bit about programs for relic hunting. We talked about fast, sensitive full tones and other programs. Now we're just talking about coil sizes and what people are using, and got a good mix here. So Tin Man says, I'll trade a Robert E. Lee Troyani print for 13-inch coil decision at Dawn frame. Perfect for your relic room. Wow. Yeah. Tin Man, I'm telling you, I have the 13 and I love it. Just to sort of show you guys. Sorry, walking away from you. But here we go. And I have the 13 set up on my WS6. There's the WS6 there. I have the WSA2 XL headphones, which you guys see there. And we got the 13-inch coil. This is a great setup for the beach, for you guys that are beach hunters, but it's also great in heavy iron. So again, if you're looking for the more coverage and you've hunted a site over and over again, maybe with that 9-inch coil or even with the 11-inch coil, the 13-inch is great to go back over that site with. And I love it. I love the 13-inch. I would use it in any situation, and it performs really, really, really well. The other thing I wanted to talk about too, other than the coils, are the headphones. And of course, I've got the WSA 2 XLs, which you see here. And as we get closer to wintertime, these are awesome. But I also use the regular WSAs, which I love, especially during the summer. And those are the WSA2 headphones. And they'll pair up with the WS6. So if you got a WS6 Master, then you could get these and pair these up really, really well. And this is a super setup with the headphones. And of course, I have the 9-inch coil, which I love, especially in heavy iron. And of course, this is on a WSA 6 model. And then I've got the 11-inch coil with the arm cuff. And this is the 11 with the remote on it. But I've used all of them. And again, if you can get all three, then I would highly recommend it. I think you can go back into a site with the 13-inch coil or even with the 11 if you got the 9, and you're going to find some extra things. So again, the versatility of the Deus II is definitely here. And you can take these different coil sizes and you're probably going to dig some stuff that you missed. That's what's so great about this machine. And again, we've been talking about different settings, different programs, and the versatility of the machine in heavy iron and going back into those sites and running this and being able to find things that you could have possibly missed. Yeah, now I just need a 6-inch, which brings me up to the last thing. So we've been talking about coils. We talked about the 9, we talked about the 11, we talked about the 13. Again, maybe XP is going to release a 5x9 elliptical coil or maybe even a 6-inch coil. That would be really great. How many of you are interested in XP releasing a smaller elliptical coil or a smaller 6-inch coil? And I might even put a poll up on my YouTube channel so I can relay this information to XP. But let me know what you prefer. Do you prefer the 6 or do you prefer the 5x9? And I had a 5x9 for my original Deus I, loved it. worked really, really well. But of course, you had to be laser focused over those targets. But it did perform well. I would really love to see one on the Deus II and see what happens. Chris says the 5x9. Bobby Short says elliptical coil for me. Chris says 5x9. Yeah, and I'm hoping they're going to release a 5x9. I know some of you know that 5x9 coil had a higher, you could go up real high in the frequencies. I think it was 74 kilohertz, which I'm hoping that if they release one, maybe they will increase the ability to up the kilohertz or the frequency on it. So that would be really cool if they did. Tin Man says he likes the elliptical. Relic Jedi says, I have to say it before, I think the 9 hunt's smaller than what it is in my honest opinion. Yeah, the 9-inch is just killer. I mean, you know, I think Michael and I were having this conversation the other day. I said maybe a 7-inch coil, sort of in between, not really the smallest coil, but not really the, you know, the largest coil either. So Ricky Bennett says, I'll buy a 5x9 tomorrow. So guys, if I do put up a poll and I ask you, you know, are you interested in a 5x9 or a 6-inch, or I put up some sort of poll, please go and respond to it, because I'm going to take that information straight to XP and let them know, hey, these people want to see a small coil. They want to see the elliptical, or they want to see this 6-inch coil, and they want to be able to use it real soon. So if I do put that up, please respond to it. Carson Chris says, I would grab a 5x9, sure. Hope it's high frequency, right? And maybe they do up it, maybe make it to where it will upgrade to a 74 kilohertz. Don't Tread on Me Metal Tank says, yeah, wouldn't that be killer? Elliptical is nice, is what NC Relic Hunter said. Very good. I want to gold nugget hunt. I've tried and not had luck. So Carson Chris, have you tried the 5x9 on the original Deus and didn't have luck? Is that what you're saying? I'm a little mixed up, but anyway, let me know. Relic Jedi says, pull it up. Yeah, I'll put it up for sure, because I'd love to share that information. NC Relic Hunter says he likes the sound of a 7-inch. Gene P, glad to have you in here. Yes, he will respond. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. Tell them small with high frequency. Right. Well, and I think the high frequency was a big deal, because I found that when I was running that 5x9, I could take it relic hunting and I could hunt under power lines with no problem, being able to bump that frequency up. The only problem is that when you go real high on those frequencies, you're going to dig a lot of tiny targets. So just be prepared if that's what they end up doing. But maybe some of those tiny targets will be something really, really cool. So, so Get That Treasure says, don't we wish our wives wanted a 5? Oh, Lord. I got you, Dave. I got you, Get That Treasure. Tried the 6-inch coil on the Notch, right? And I had used the 6-inch coil on the Notch. I had some success with the 6-inch. I've got tons of videos with it. I actually found a South Carolina button. I dug a large scent with that 6-inch on that Nox. Some really cool things. But I really want to see this 5x9 or a 6-inch coil maybe for the Deus II. I think that would be killer. Joe Dirt says he wants the 5x9. James Bazell, for me, the 9-inch coil is perfect. All astounding coil. Yes, I think so too, James. 9-inch coil is an amazing size for what we want. I think the battery in the shaft helps with the EMI as well. It definitely does. NC Relic Hunter, thank you for the comment. I dug a piece of steel birdshot once at 5 inches with the HF. Well, that's what I just said. You know, when you get into those high frequencies, running that HF coil and that thing's coming in at 74 kilohertz, you're going to dig some small targets. You really will. William Birch says, I love the 6-inch on the Nox. Would like one for the Deus too. All right. So, guys, I am going to do that, though. I will put up a poll on my community poll. And please respond to it, because I can relay that information back to XP. And that's something that I think all of us want to see. And with you guys and with the input from our viewers, I think that would definitely help promote that and get them maybe getting that thing out real soon. Wouldn't it be nice if we had one by the first of the year? Maybe that's coming. Let's hope. I would love to see that. And who knows, we might even have another update from Deus or for the Deus 2 before then as well. Tin Man says HF crackle is the cat's meow. There you go, Tin Man. So yeah, the 5x9 coil would be nice, and I know we talked about it on the last live stream, and I know a lot of us have used one with the Deus 1. I used one with the Deus 1. I know NC Relic Hunter has, and we all enjoyed it. We'd love to see it for this machine as well, especially in those heavy iron sights and those nooks and crannies that we definitely can't get into, even with the 9-inch coil. But I do think the 9-inch coil is probably one of the best unmasking size coils on the Deus 2, plain and simple, period. Don't Tread on Me says, that's how I run the Deus 1 like that. Never misses a 22 cal lead or short brass cases. Oh my gosh, I dig so many 22 brass casings. So Don't Tread on Me. I'm with you there for sure. Gene P says, high frequency coil, great for low conductors, small goal, but will dig lots of foil. Right. Yeah. When you run those high frequencies, you do add that into that as well. Knowing XP, they're probably working on it now. And I agree. And I don't know whether they're working on one, but I got a good feeling that they are. So Gene P says he loves the Deus 2. Thank you for being here tonight, Gene P. Appreciate it. Carson Chris says, I never bonded with the Deus 1. And I like the Deus 1. It was, and I didn't buy the Deus 1 until 2016, I think is when I got my Deus 1. I had been using a MindLab E-Track, but the E-Track was so dang heavy, it was wearing my arm out. And so I was looking for something else to hunt with, and I went with the Deus 1, and I never looked back. I love that machine. I found so many good things with it, especially once they introduced the high frequency coil, which we're all talking about right now. And once they introduced that high frequency coil, I was off and running with it and never looked back. And the Nox came out. And even though I had the Nox 800, I used it. But I'll tell you, in heavy iron, the Deus 1 really shined. And with that high frequency coil, it really did well. So, Carson Chris, I don't know, how you used it or if you had the high frequency, but man, I love that. I love that machine, especially with that high frequency coil. It was an awesome piece of machinery for sure. Get That Treasure says it's always a 22 or a pull tab until it isn't. Right. I know exactly what you're saying. Get That Treasure. William Bird says missed about the 2.0 upgrade right away. Well, William, this was basically the consensus. If you're planning on getting the Extreme Hunter, then you might want to go ahead and update. If you are a gold hunter and Goldfield is a program that you really rely on, the only major thing that was done on Goldfield was that they made it where it would hit smaller targets. So if you're looking for small nuggets, and you're that type of hunter, then maybe that's a reason why you upgrade. But other than that, that was it. They did bone conduction headphones. They said that the equalizer will function now with the bone conduction headphones. So, if that's something too that you're into, then that would be a reason to update. But other than that, that was it really for the update. And we'll see. Maybe XP's got something else coming too later on down the road. Bobby Short says Deus 1 is the gateway drug for the Deus 2. You're right, Bobby. I agree with that one. It definitely, I was hooked. As soon as the Deus 2 came out, I was all over it because I love my Deus 1 so much. And then I was just blown away with the Deus 2. It really was. Carson Chris says, I had the X35 and high frequency coil, but I always used the 800. And the 800 was a great machine. I mean, I've found so much stuff with the 800. But when I got into heavy iron, I just really loved that Deus 1. And it just, I don't know, it just performed so much better to me as far as unmasking and that kind of stuff. And that's what, I love. That's why I love the Deus 1. And like somebody just said a minute ago, it led me right to the Deus II. And I really love the Deus II as well. Don't Tread on Me says Deus 1 hot program, reactivity 174 kilohertz. Those deep high conductors sound so damn sweet. I bet they did. I bet they did for sure. You're welcome, William. That's what we're about, sharing the information. That's why we're on here, to try to share information with you guys and to get everybody up and running. Gene P says the Deus one with HF coil was amazing. I'm recalling liking the Equinox 900 with the Coltec 5x9, hitting a 10-inch silver dime on edge in my test garden. It's a whisper, but it hits it right. And probably one of the deepest holes I've ever seen dug with a coin was done with the Knox 800. And it was not with the 5x9. It was actually with the 11-inch. And Calabash actually dug that when I was with him, and he dug a seated dime at that, and it was I would have never believed it was going to be a silver coin. So, but again, the Deus one, great machine. Equinox 800 with a 5x9. I've never used that Coltec coil, but I've heard some good things about it. But a 10-inch silver that deep in a test garden, that sounds pretty killer to me. NC Relic Hunter says great machine with the HF coils. Bobby Short says in some areas I go full on base streak. You just start digging everything, and that happens. I agree with you 100%. So yeah, so I think the consensus is we'd love to all see a 5x9. So I am going to put up a poll. So you guys check it out and make sure that you leave me some information, because I can share that information with XP. Let them know, hey, this is what the viewers want. This is what the XP users want that I've got on my channel. And again, we talked about a few other machines as well. The Equinox 800 was revolutionary. It's a deep machine. I used it for a long time too. I sort of used them together. I would use the Equinox when I wasn't dealing with a lot of iron. I would use the Deus one when I was dealing with iron. But then the Deus II came out, and it just sort of made my Equinox just sort of sit over there in the corner. And I tell you, I just haven't found another machine that compares to it with the style of hunting that I use or that I hunt. And that's why I love the Deus II, and I think many of you on here would agree with me. But it's not to say that you can't hunt with the Equinox 900 or the Manticore or the Nocta Legend. Those are all great machines too. But for me, just in my area and the sites that I hunt, the Deus II just tends to perform very, very well for me. And so that's the machine that I go with. So Carson Chris says, how deep? Carson Chris, you just have to sort of fill me in on that one. William Birch says, still take my Knox out, but the Deus II is a killer machine. Right. And like I said, all these machines are so good. We're living in such a good time where you've got so many good choices in machines. And if you guys can see back there behind me, I've got a few of those machines hanging up on my wall back there. And I wouldn't hesitate picking up any of them. I've got an Xterra Pro. I've got a Nocta Legend. I've got a MindLab Vanquish. I've got a WS6, and I've got a Deus II. And I would use any of those machines on any of my sites and would probably do okay with them. And, I don't think there's that much difference in some of them. I just like the Deus II because it suits the sites that I hunt, and the versatility of it, the lightweight ability of it. All of those are things that I think just make the Deus II such a special machine. And that's why I use it. So there you go. Getting back to these. Yes, NC Relic Hunter says that the Deus II is the top dog at this point. Yes, definitely. Bobby Short. And some laughing and some giggling. Tin Man says, I wish I didn't sell my Deus. You know what? I had that same conversation the other day with Michael on here too. Was I wish I still had my small elliptical coil in the Deus one. That would have been awesome. I've been waiting for them to release a smaller coil since before I even got the Deus II. Nook and crannies. You're right. Gene P says, had the 800 but didn't like it. I'm mostly an XP user. Just got the 900 and have to say I think it's superior to the 800. Right. And, again, all of us have different ways that we like to hunt, but nothing wrong with the Equinox 900. It's a great machine. And again, you're just living in a great time where you've got so many great choices. Alabama Digger says, I dug a flat button shoulder deep in South Carolina once with the Knox. Me and my buddy were in disbelief. Right. And the Knox was, to me, a great machine, and it was extremely deep. Carson Chris says, I've been digging deeper coins with the Deus II than I did with the Knox. Yes, I could say the same thing. I think you do see some depth with the Deus II that people don't realize, because some people like to knock on the Deus I, saying, hey, it wasn't a deep machine, and they weren't real sure about the Deus II, but the Deus II is a deep machine, and the Deus II is a great coin machine. So if you're into hunting coins, I love the Deus II, especially for that. John P says, Deus II is my go-to relic machine. Mine too. I'm with you 100%. Get That Treasure says, good luck this weekend, guys. I hope you get that treasure. Glad to have you on here. Get That Treasure. We're getting ready to sign off. Yes, lightweight really helps. It's an easy swing. And you got a 5-year warranty. Think about that for a minute. Something you don't get with any other machine. Wisco Detect says, I'm really enjoying that sensitive full tones with high square. He says, I'm right, Teach. Well, thank you, Wisco. I love to I love to hear when I'm right, but I'll take when I'm wrong too. But that's why I love to tell you guys things and see if you can go out and test it and prove me right. So I appreciate the comment. Thank you so much. Carson Chris says, I've been pulling silver at 10, 11 inches, about 2 to 3 inches deeper than I was pulling silver with the Knox. Well, I'm telling you, that's a big statement there, Carson Chris, because that Knox is really deep. Like I just said a few minutes ago, I saw Calabash dig probably about a 14, 15-inch half dime, seated half dime on a site that just blew me away. It was probably one of the greatest single digs that I've ever seen using the Knox. But again, the Deus II is a deep, deep machine as well. Even on the beach, I've seen it hit up to 16 inches in some cases. But again, those are under ideal conditions with the settings sort of maxed out and juiced that it would do that. And I knew where the target was too, so that helps. But again, you can do those. So again, Knox is a great machine. Deus II is a great machine. So you guys are doing awesome, hitting those deep targets as well. Again, NC Relic Hunter says, run that notch up in the Deus. It will kill those coins for sure. Those coins are going to be blasted using that notch. And it's got such a sweet sound to it when you use high square. So, and again, if you're using high square, I will say this. This is another tip. So listen carefully to what I'm about to say. If you're using high square and you really want to hit a deep target and get a good, clean sound, run the audio filter on 1. Do not go up to 2. Try 1. And I'm telling you, it will clean up that sound on some of those deeper targets. So if you haven't tried that, go to the audio filter setting, bump it up to 1, get a deep target, and then swing over it with that Deus II. And I think you'll be blown away by what you hear. And then try bumping it up to 2 and then bumping it down to 0 and see the difference in it. But running that audio filter on 1 will help clean up those really deep silver coins, those deep targets. It cleans up that sound. And I've seen it on the beach and I've seen it relic hunting as well. So try that audio filter on 1. I'm glad you brought that up, Michael, because that cued me in on that. So thank you. Gene P says, I let my Deus I go when I bought the Deus II, but I kept the ORX with it. Yes, that was a great move. All right, there's my buddy, Stink Ass Cat. All right, glad to have you in here. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate that. We've passed out a lot of information tonight, Stink Ass Cat. We've talked about a bunch of things. So if you get a chance, go watch the replay. But again, thank you so much for the donation. All those contributions go back into the channel, and help bring us this content as well as future content in the future with cameras, equipment, lighting, everything that I've got going on in here. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that donation. William Birch says, been detecting since White's Coinmaster 5000. Boy, things have changed, right? And we're living in such a good time where there's so many good machines, guys, and all of them are deep. We're sitting here talking about depth, but you could take that Nocta Legend that I got hanging up back there and you're going to get good depth. You can take that Xterra Pro, you're going to get good depth. These machines have come a long, long way. And really, most of it has happened within the last 5 or 6 years. So we're living in a great time where you've got so many good choices. My husband dug a saw button thing at 17 inches with the Deus II. Yeah, and I've got one of those saw buttons too with an eagle on it. That's a great find. So glad to have you in here too, Bells. Always glad to see you here. Joe Dirt says, hey, I'm going to have to try the 88 notch. Yeah, try it, Joe. I'm telling you, if you're using fast and you're using sensitive full tones and you're specifically looking for coins, or if you're in a site that you've really hunted a lot, then try that program. I'm not saying use that program as your everyday program, but run that notch up if you've hunted this site and see if you can pull some targets out. I think you'll find that it really works very well. Right. It's the old handsaw medallions that you saw on the side of those handsaws. Those are beautiful finds. I love those. So thanks for sharing. Bells says, hi, West Coast. Just got here. Been busy all day. Well, we're always glad to have you in here, Bells. Yes, Stink Ass Cat. Go back and listen. We've run the gamut tonight. We've talked a lot about a lot of different things. And you guys are just so simply amazing. And Gene P says, can't wait for the weather to break here in South Carolina, having withdrawals. I think we're all having withdrawals. I'm having them. So I can't wait to get out and start detecting really, really soon. I've got a week off in October. So I'm planning on going up to North Carolina and doing some hunting. I'm planning on hunting, of course, here in South Carolina. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm just ready for the cool weather for sure. Yes, William Birch says he's found one of those two Bells. Yes, they're really cool. Tin Man says I had a White's coin getter with one knob as a kid, then ended up with the he left off the last part. Gene P says fast pitch notch to 43 works great for me. Right, and again, I think anytime you start implementing that notch, I think it changes that machine for whatever it's worth to you guys. But I do think it changes some of the dynamics of that machine. I think it helps in the unmasking capabilities of that machine, running that notch up a little bit. And sometimes too, guys, one thing that I do sometimes is I'll even sometimes just turn the iron off, especially if I already know there's iron there. And that can help too. So if you haven't tried running your iron volume all the way down, you might even want to try that too on some of your sites. And it's pleasant because you don't have to hear all that iron. I get ear fatigue sometimes because of the amount of iron in some of these spots. So yes, Carson Chris says that's where I run the audio filter. Right. If you run that audio filter on one, that can definitely help clean up those deep sounds too, because it will give it a purer sound or purer audio is what I like to use. Wisconsin is now 65 degrees. Wow. I wish I was in Wisconsin. Carson Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate you, buddy. You're here all the time. Thank you for the donation. We really, really, really appreciate that. So, guys, I've been on here longer than what I planned tonight, but you guys got into some interesting things that I love to talk about, especially when we talk about coils and we talk about settings. And again, everybody on here is so knowledgeable, and that's what I love about our group. I love coming on here on Friday nights and hearing what you guys have to say and sharing what I've learned and what I've picked up over the last few weeks and so on. And hopefully we're going to have a lot of hunting videos coming real soon. And I can't wait to get out and start hunting and showing some of these things. I've got some things that I'm experimenting with right now. And I'm hoping there's going to be some breakthroughs on some of these programs that I haven't really had the chance to really test. but I'm really interested in doing moving forward. Carson Chris says, one of my hunting buddies is Thomas Birch. I wonder if you're related, William. Okay, there you go. William, he's asking you, you're related to Thomas Birch. James Bazell says, if you are hunting coins, be sure to leave the nickel range open. Definitely, James. Great tip there. Gene P says, Dan, amen to that. Horrible. And Surfside Dan says, can't wait for the mosquito. Right, I know. These mosquitoes are killer here in South Carolina. But again, hopefully we're getting close to the end of mosquito season as well. Michael Campbell says, just got the new Nocta Ultra. Can't wait to go hunt some dirt. Right. And the Simplex Ultra, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, Michael, is a great machine. I've seen a lot of people having some success with it. The only drawback was it would, you can't hunt the beach with it. It was the drawback, but Nocta makes a good machine. So, and I've heard some good things about the Ultra. So I can't wait to see that as well. Joe Dirt says, thanks, Teach. We know it's a lot of hard work. Yeah, guys, if y'all knew the schedule that I was on, I think y'all would understand. I teach school, I coach, I have an elderly father that I take care of, and then I do this on the side too as well. So I do put in a lot of time, but I appreciate you guys because coming on here on Friday nights makes it all worth it to me, and it just basically takes my mind away from some of the other things that I'm dealing with too at times. So I'm always glad to see Friday night come and I'm able to share time with you guys. So again, Sonny Coley says, I'm a Deus II nerd. And thank you, Sonny. You didn't have to do that, but thank you for the donation. Tony Maston says, good show, Teach. Thanks and happy swinging all. Thank you, Tony, for being here. You're a great supporter of the channel. William Birch says, thanks. Yes, I enjoy it. You guys make it all worthwhile. And that's why I love coming on here, because everybody in here is just simply amazing and super. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to come on here and talk metal detecting. Yes, hit that like button if you haven't already. Thank you so much, Bells. Thank you, Relic Jedi. All of you guys are awesome. Carson Chris says, I notched the 45. Definitely you implement that notch if you haven't. I'll tell you one other thing too before I get off of here. I keep thinking of things. And I know I've said this on the last couple of live streams. Implement threshold too. A lot of the old timers were right with that threshold. That will help sort of break that iron a little bit. So if you can implement a little bit of threshold, maybe at 1, 2, just to barely hear that hum to it, and you can also change the pitch of that hum too in some cases. But implement threshold. I think you will really, really, really like that, and it can help squeeze out some more targets too. So if you haven't implemented some threshold, try it and just see if you like it. I mean, sometimes it's good to hear because it can, especially if you're running in a lot of iron, to get that threshold in there sometimes will help. And you can turn the iron volume all the way down too, just so you still have a little bit of something in your ear. Threshold works really great on the beach for you guys that are beach hunters too, running that threshold just with that slight hum in the background. Really does make a difference. So if you haven't tried that, try that. Good. Yes. Thank you, John P. Multitasker for sure. Yeah. And I coach a team that I've won. I know you guys are going to find this crazy, but I've won 4 state championships in the last 12 years. So yeah, so my teams have been very successful, and I'm pretty hardcore on my coaching part too. So, but I love being with you guys, and you guys make it all worthwhile. Detector 2 Guns. We're coming in at the end of the show, but always glad to have you here. Go back and check the replay too, because we're getting ready to sign off. Alabama, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate it. Yes, it is a cool hangout. So yes, hearing the dropout, he's exactly right. William Birch is exactly right with that threshold. And Gene P says, yes, threshold helps identify iron too. Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys are amazing. And we're up to 38. And I hate to even sign off, but I do have to get up early in the morning because I've got to travel with my team early in the morning. So I'm going to have to sign off. But again, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. For those that donated tonight, I really appreciate you guys. You're the lifeblood of my channel too, as well. And it keeps things going for everybody in here. And please hit that like button if you haven't already. Share the channel with someone. We'd love to get our subscriber count up too. Trying to get to 10,000. I'm halfway there. I'm over 5, and I would love to get our subscriber count up. But again, you guys are amazing. Thanks so much. Share the channel, hit that like button, and I hope when you guys get out that you find some amazing things. Keep hunting. Keep swinging that Deus II, swinging your metal detector. Go find some great sites and go find some amazing things, and come back and share them with us too. And remember, send me your finds. I would love to show your finds on the live stream. And, if it's a find that maybe you don't even know what it is, then send it to us. And maybe there's somebody on here that might have seen that particular find as well. So, again, the channel's about info, it's about sharing, and it's about having fun. So that's what we're about. And again, thank you guys so much. Appreciate each and every one of you, and I will catch you soon on my next adventure. Take care, guys. Have a wonderful and fantastic weekend, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Take care, guys.